Welcome back to Henry Felix Discourses, where we talk about CRT in the schools and the damage that it's doing to them, and where we talk about specific examples of it. So when you're seeing the news and they talk about CRT, they're usually talking in broad general terms. And here we'll talk about the specifics so you can see how these things actually are applied. Today we're going to talk about world languages at Winsor. And this is going to be a good one because I think we'll be ending on a high note. This will be the last of the philosophical descriptions of their courses that we'll be doing. We'll still do a little bit more on Winsor after this. But this will be the last one on their actual courses from that appendix that is in the back. And just as a quick reminder, if you want to get to that PDF that has this appendix to read along, you would put in Winsor School, Massachusetts. Click on that and you come to their home page, which is here. Go up here to the upper right menu, hit About over here, and then you go down, you hover, and then you go down, hit Equity and Inclusion, which will take you to this page right here. And you scroll down and you eventually get to DEI Report right there. Click on that. And you get to this page, a report on DEI at Winsor. Scroll down a little bit and then go here where it says read the report. Click that and then you will get the PDF. I'll put the link straight to it in the thing anyway, so you'll just be able to go straight to it. But getting right down to it, world languages. Winsor students navigate a diverse and quickly evolving world. Now we see diverse right there, but I think they mean diverse in the real meaning of the word diverse. Helping our students expand their horizons through multilingualism and fostering a self-awareness and the cultural competency that they need to engage productively and authentically with the larger world are the twin goals of the World Languages program. Now, they use the word authentic. That's always like a little warning red flag there. It's like, that's a DEI word, but I think they mean it as the actual word with a meaning that you can look up in the dictionary and that means what we think it means. Continuing on. From the beginning of our language programs in the 5th and 6th grades through the end of high school, it's interesting they say 5th and 6th grades because everybody else seems to say class 1 and 2, which is technically their word for 5th and 6th grades. I don't think that really necessarily means anything, but I'm just noticing that. That's all. Maybe they're a little more independently oriented here in the World Languages program. Through the end of high school, students learn to recognize and question their own cultural frameworks as they encounter those of others. Their growing linguistic skills are put to use as they encounter increasingly complex and meaningful cultural experiences. Oh, yep, that's what happens when you learn a foreign language, and especially if you travel. Continuing, beginning in class 1, so there's instead of 5th grade. So these are written, I assume these are written by groups, and maybe that just is one of those things, who knows. And throughout the 8-year program, language skills are paired with cultural lessons, not simply to teach facts about other countries, but to engage students in the process of critical inquiry. Love to see that phrase, critical inquiry, because it's not critical theory, which is not critical thinking. Critical inquiry, by contrast, is critical. Critical inquiry is, by contrast, critical thinking. Critical theory is memorizing. It's listening and spitting back. That's what that is. It brooks no dissent. Continuing on, our curricula are carefully designed to explore the geographical diversity of the languages we offer. We offer perspectives on how languages evolve. For example, to include gender-neutral pronouns. That's in parentheses, and that's current. That's something that you should know if you're learning another language because it's there, that's totally legitimate. I don't see a political motivation there at all. And how languages differ from country to country and region to region. How words are more easily feminized in Canadian French, or how Spain employs the plural you form that the rest of the Spanish-speaking world does not. We also carefully choose our texts and readings to provide students with a broad range of voices and perspectives. Our sources range from folklore, poetry, and literary fiction to essays, historical documents, and contemporary films and news. Now notice their list of a diverse range are diverse topics. They're not just a list of different groups writing things, but they're different people writing with different ideas about things. Big difference. In short, our courses are structured around the development of linguistic aptitude and communication skills in the service of fostering true cultural awareness and the ability to interact with authenticity and sensitivity in cultural contexts other than their own. Notice the word true there. I think we'll come back to that in a second. You'll see what I mean. It is important to mention that we are also mindful of the fact that our students come to Winsor from a variety of cultural and linguistic backgrounds. Some know no language other than English, and others are already bilingual or multilingual when they arrive. Each student has her own set of linguistic frameworks on which to build, whether she is a multi-generational Bostonian taking Latin, a native Spanish speaker delving into an upper-level Spanish class, a native Cantonese speaker opting to begin learning Mandarin, or a Haitian Creole speaker learning French. Okay, so you heard me stumble. You know what? I found the one typo in the entire thing, because it says whether she is, comma, a multi-generation. The comma doesn't belong there. That's why I was a little confused. I have read this before, but I skimmed over that, and one mistake in the whole 100 pages is not bad. Who knows? Maybe there's another one. But this is a really clean, generally is a very extremely clean production here. Each student brings her own linguistic perspective along with her cultural perspective to her class and language learning. And we value the richness that each student's insights, perspectives, and growth bring to our classes. Bravo! Last but not least, we work both as a department and in pods to review our projects and course content on a yearly basis to make sure that our questions, readings, assignments, and goals are up to date, authentic, and will promote genuine self-reflection and multicultural understanding. So we've seen authentic in this 3 times. That is a DEI word, but I think they mean it. And the fact that they say to promote genuine self-reflection and multicultural understanding may be a little bit of a message that they're saying we're doing the real thing here. We're not doing this plastic, fake, shallow CRT/DEI version of multicultural understanding. And for that, I applaud them. This sounds to me like a great program. And looking at the curricula, it's a very strong program as well. So in a way, I'm thinking that this is a little bit like the math and athletics part where they were pushing back a little, and I think they're pushing back in kind of the nicest possible way. I'm going to guess this is exactly what they would have written 5 years ago about their program. And it's a good philosophy. And I noticed that, other than authenticity 3 times, and it's devoid of all the keywords and catchwords of CRT. They're not there. They're not in this. And that's a good thing because they're not confining their students' minds. And critical inquiry is there, and that's a great thing too. Now, the fear with this is that eventually the commissar comes along and says, this isn't DEI enough. We need you to rewrite this. You're not doing enough. Because they do have a very evangelical quality to them. They think that they know everything, and they think that your job is to listen and conform. It is not individualistic. And once they catch on that you're not really conforming, they can come down with a very heavy hammer. I think we've seen that in the culture at large, and I think we see that sometimes even in personal interactions. So I hope that doesn't happen to them, but they're doing the real thing because knowledge and philosophy, often that does come in through language. And I can give you a very specific example of that, which would be Britain, because the Romans controlled Britain for over 350 years. And when they left, it collapsed. So it was one of the most astounding failures of nation building ever. As soon as they were gone, within a very short period of time, the culture had collapsed. And it wasn't just from within, but there were also invasions, and I get that. But before long, the cities were abandoned. There was nothing left. And all you had were these old ruins where people would look back and say, wow, things used to be better, weren't they? Now, when later it was a Muslim actually by the Western name of Averroes who brought Aristotle back to the West through Spain. It was learned about actually through France, and it worked its way into England, where they learned about scholasticism, which was basically making a pro and con list of everything and saying what are all the pros and what are all the cons, and let's make our decision, which was very different from just reading the Bible and doing what you're told. So there was an idea of thinking for yourself instead of just doing what you're told. That eventually blossomed into things like doing things according to reason. But there was a vehicle for that, and that was learning Latin and Greek. And that's why in Britain, when culture came back, they were teaching Latin and Greek in all the schools, because that's how you learned the philosophy of the ancients. That's how you progressed. In that sense, Britain has been a multicultural society all along, and they're not just old stodgy white men all the way through the empire and everything. They had a great respect for foreign cultures in that sense, intellectually for sure. And they had a definite understanding that ideas come from outside sometimes. They're not just homegrown, and they were not just hidebound people with mental barriers up against the rest of the world. This is also why CRT is a step backward, because it is an assertion that subjectivity and power and conformism are the new rule of the day, as opposed to individuality, reason, and objectivity. So they're going backwards with CRT. Anyway, this I think is a bright spot for this appendix here. I think they're doing a good job, and I'm glad it's there. And it also shows between this and some other places, not everybody's all on board with this. I mean, I know I'm drawing that just from, it's my opinion about what I've read, but that's what we have to work with, what's on the paper. And I see a strong, definite contrast between this and what was written in science or visual arts or performing arts, where they seem to have embraced it completely. Even if in science in their hearts they haven't embraced it completely, well, they sat down with the list and they did everything exactly the way they were told. And the thing is, once these ideas are there and they get pushed down from above, then it really does start to infiltrate everything. And that's the goal, is to infiltrate everything. So we'll see that in a next couple of discourses where we start finishing up with Winsor, and then move on to other topics after that. So thank you for joining me. This was a pleasure for me, as it always is, and I hope you enjoyed it. Please leave a like if you enjoyed it, and a dislike if you didn't. And a comment would always be welcome, good or bad. And hope you're back next time.